Okay, guys, we're gonna get going. Welcome, everybody. So sorry we're a bit delayed today because the Zoom decided to give us a different timeline for our class, and I had to redo it. So, but Baruch Hashem, we're here. So, welcome. So we're holding in the story of the Chochom and Tam, the sophisticate and the simpleton, and we are right now in the Rav Arush book of the Garden of Wisdom on page, let's say, 145. And we were dealing with this aspect of the story that he would make a shoe, the shoemaker would make a shoe, and it wouldn't be such a nice shoe, it wouldn't be so good, but he would be happy with it, and he would be very excited about it. And we understood from this that we have to see what's going on in our lives, and we have to accept what's going on and understand that it comes from Hashem. And so we said, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like you're saying that we need to not have ambitions, and we don't want to move forward, and we don't want to grow. And of course, anyone who studies Judaism, who attends any classes to do, with Judaism or Breslov, Hasidus in particular, will know that we're always trying to grow. We're always trying to move closer to Hashem and closer to our true selves. So what's pshat? What's the situation over here? So we said like this, that before the fact, Rav Arush made a chiluk of before the fact and after the fact. So before the fact, we always look like we're trying to do our best. We're trying to succeed. We're trying to make the best shoes we can. We're trying to do the best at whatever we're doing in life. We're trying to be the best parents and the best children and the best, co-worker and the best davener and the best Torah learner. Right? We're always trying to do the best. But after the fact, when we finished, and the outcome doesn't look the way we expected. It doesn't look the way we expected. At that point, we try to be happy and we say, okay, this is what Hashem wanted. I put in my effort. I worked hard and I tried, and this is the way that it came out. So this is Ratzon Hashem, and I need to experience this. This is exactly what was meant for me. And with that in mind, I can move forward with it. I can move forward. And I don't have to be upset. I don't have to be sad. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be disappointed. I don't have to be jealous of other people. Right? Why? Because I understand that it's made for me. It's tailor-made for me and what I need in my life. And I don't have to be jealous of anyone else. So we're gonna focus quite a bit on this inyan of jealousy in this week's class. Before we get to that, we're coming to it very soon. But let's look at page 145. Before we move into jealousy, let's look at page 145. So here he says, the sweetness of simplicity. He brings out an important point here. So, we, Jewish people, we've always held powerfully strong to the Torah. And we always look to the Torah as our source of wisdom. And the Torah, of course, doesn't only mean the 5 books of Moses. It means the whole Tanakh. It means the Gemara. It means the Mishnah. It means the Hasidus. It means Kabbalah. How long have you not been able to hear me for?
We haven't heard a word.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I've been going for 4 minutes and no one heard a word because I was on mute by accident. You can hear me now, yeah? Okay. Did I look good? Was it okay? Did I look like I knew what I was doing?
Yes.
That's what's important, right? Okay. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so I'm going to start back at page 145. Okay? Page 145, the sweetness of simplicity. So we're saying like this right now, that the Torah, for us Jews, all of our wisdom, we always take it back to the Torah. We always take it back to the Torah and the Ribbono Shel Olam. And the Torah doesn't just mean the 5 books of Moses. The Torah means all of Tanakh. The Torah means the Mishnayos, Gemara. It means it means Musar, it means thought, it means Rishonim, Achronim, it means Chasidus, it means Kabbalah, it means all Jewish wisdom. We look to our tzaddikim for our guidance. And we know that that's where we're going to find the wisdom. From the Rabbanu Shalom through all of our teachers and all of our tzaddikim. And so we see here a very interesting and pretty awesome difference. It's another one of those things. There's many things that we're seeing in these shiurim on the Chochom and Tam, where I say something and it's something that usually bothers people, right? If you remember, what was it about? When I was talking about, it was before all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world now, but even before, and I was saying how we should ignore the news as much as possible, and not be so focused on the constant feed of negative information. Before October 7th, we were saying this, right? And I said, "What do you mean, Rabbi? I'm supposed to not look at the news?" And I said, "Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm supposed to not, be informed about everything that's going on in the world?" Correct. That's exactly what I'm saying. And it sounds like, many people would say, "What are you talking about? You're just going to bury your head in the sand?" Yeah, to a certain extent, yes. Right? Why? Because I can't be me. I can't function if I'm just a constant intake of everything that's going on in the world, some true, some not true, some positive, some negative. I can't live. I can't be me. I can't function. I'm filled up with all this garbage that I have no room for holiness. I have no room for goodness. I have no room for authenticity. Right? This is one thing that we said. So, we're saying another thing like this today. And the other thing, this thing is like this. Our wisdom comes from the Torah. And if we look too much towards our own intellect, as opposed to the Torah, we're gonna go crazy. So we should get our wisdom from the Torah, from the tzaddikim, from our tradition, and not from our own intellectual prowess. Ooh, that sounds like a pretty serious statement. Wait a second, Rabbi, I got a question. Don't we really, really appreciate a tremendous intellect in Judaism? Of course we do. Don't we say that people have to study Torah and really, for years and years and years and years, and we marvel and we appreciate the tremendous intellect of our big Talmidei Chacham and tzaddikim. It's true. That's true. But our big tzaddikim who had tremendous intellect, they did it in the right way. So, like this. Let's think for a second. So he has a line over here. And it's when we attach the words of cleverness or sophistication, and cleverness and sophistication indicate two things. One, he says, is reliance on our own logic and intellect, as opposed to grounding ourselves in Torah. Is the first point. And the second point is there's often, he doesn't say it here, but I'm adding this in. He kind of says it in the next paragraph. There's a certain aspect of arrogance and of ego and of building myself up, as opposed to a humble desire to develop an intellectual connection with Hashem. You hear the difference? It's a tremendous difference. So in other words, you could say, for example, that when learning deeper Torah, like Kabbalah, for example, it's important that someone has a teacher, has a guide, right? Because it has happened many times in the past that someone has learned Kabbalah and has gone off the deep end and gone into things that they shouldn't have gone into. Why? Because they began to go after their own processes, their own intellectual desires, and it took them to a place that led them to sometimes death, sometimes negativity, whatever it was. And as opposed to somebody who's not learning because they just want the intellect, they just want the cleverness, they want to show people how much they know, they want to learn the things that are exciting. No. They're learning because they want to connect to Hashem. They want to connect to the supernal intellect in a humble way. It's very, very different. He says, cleverness leads to wheeling and dealing. So there's an interesting thing in amongst Breslevers, right? Real Breslevers, especially old school Breslevers, they are very careful and cautious about becoming what Rabbi Nachman referred to and what they always say as a mefursam shel sheker. That means, a mefursam means someone who's famous, and sheker means falsehood or lies, right? Meaning, there's such a thing as a person who does all of their learning and their intellectual growth for the purpose of kind of wheeling and dealing and creating something that I'm going to show people my intellect. I'm gonna bring out a whole new, way of looking at the world. I'm gonna give the, if I use my own name, I'm gonna create the Avraham Gisselson system to 7 steps to success, right? Right? So, and I put this out, why? Because I want people to see, I want them to buy into my product. I want to show everybody who I am and what, I want to be famous. Yeah? This is like the wheeling and dealingness of cleverness. This is the intellect of ego that can pull a person down a path that is not a healthy path. And such a person, if our ego is the ego if our intellect is the intellect of ego, you know what that means? That means that just the same way that it can be lifted up, it can be slashed right down. A person who is a person of intellectual ego is on a roller coaster, right? This is what we always say. He says this many times, this lashon of a roller coaster. More often than not, he says, he rides an emotional roller coaster that lifts him high during the good times, but dives to the depths when things don't go his way. Right? This is the person whose whole essence is based on this. Right? It's either I'm high and I'm doing good and people appreciate me and people like me and people applaud me, right? Or they aren't applauding me and so I'm down in the dumps. Why? Because I'm dependent on this. Mashen Kain, a person of simplicity, a person of tamimus, the sweetness of simplicity, he's learning Torah to connect to Hashem. We're learning in order to try to grab a hold, a glimpse, a taste of wisdom that we can use, that can help us. And so it doesn't matter if we have a whole empire built with the 7 steps to success by Sandra Finkelstein or by Avram Gisselson or by Nancy or by Simma or by Myrna, right? We don't care. We just want to learn and we want to get close to Hashem, and we want this wisdom to go into us and to help us. So sometimes I'm doing good, sometimes not. Sometimes we make it, sometimes we don't. We're not rising. We're not going crazy, and we're not falling down. He says here in his words, with the simplicity, the extreme emotional highs and lows transform into an even-keeled existence. Since one neither takes credit for successes nor torments themselves because of setbacks. I'm doing my part. I'm trying to connect to the wisdom of the Ribbono Shel Olam, to the deep wisdom, and if it works, great, thank you Hashem. And if it doesn't work, great, thank you Hashem. Right? Either way, great, thank you Hashem. Beautiful, important point, and it's really leading us into this idea. Okay, we're going to go into one thing before we get into this idea of comparing myself to other people and jealousy. We're going to look at this crazy inyan. If you look at page 151, this is something that is often people do not like to discuss. I think we didn't discuss this last time, but some people even call such type of discussion dangerous. So we're going to give it a caveat that we have to make sure to listen to the whole thing I'm saying here, and we have to really think about it. Don't jump and do anything crazy. Okay, so he says, first of all, on page 150, he says, if everyone had firm emunah, there would be no negative character traits such as jealousy and stinginess. They would be gone. What good is cheating a person in business if Hashem won't give you any more or less than what's destined for you? No one would cheat, right? No one would cheat in business because Hashem gives us what we're supposed to have, right? We're not gonna make it better or worse. Why be jealous of someone else when whatever they have is not going to affect what you have, right? In other words, if Hashem wants you to have what you have, so looking with jealousy towards someone else that you know who has more than you, who has something better than you, it's not going to change. You're going to get what you're supposed to have. Hashem's going to give you what you need. So why should I be jealous, right? So this is the first main point. There's no when we have real emunah, it doesn't matter who's a Sardi, who's an Ashkenazi, who's a Litvak, who's a Chassid. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares, right? As we see right now, the tremendous, beautiful achdus amongst Klal Yisrael. Nobody cares. Nobody even cares if you're religious or not. There's just achdus and love together. It's mamash amazing. So, like this. Look at page 151. We're going to read in the middle paragraph. A person without emunah thinks that he is capable of doing something that defies Hashem's will. A person with emunah knows that such a notion is ridiculous. With this in mind, we don't torment ourselves even when we commit a misdeed, because without Hashem's will, we couldn't have committed the misdeed. Remember, you got to stick with me till the end on this one. He's saying over here that if we did something like a misdeed, that means an aveira. We did a sin. We did something wrong. We did something bad, right? So he's saying we don't torment ourselves afterwards about this. It's a very, very big yesod in the Torah of Rabbi Nachman and certainly in the Torah of Ishbitz, which is that we cannot allow ourselves to be pulled down into sadness and melancholy. And to be pulled down into negativity when we do something that we shouldn't have done. It's not good that we do it, but after we did it, we cannot let it pull us down, because this is what we always say. The Yetzer Hara's goal is not to make you eat the bacon double cheeseburger. Maybe there's a little bit. But the main goal of the Yetzer Hara is to make you feel guilty afterwards, to make you feel terrible, to make you feel like you're a bad person and you're a glutton and you have no control over yourself and what's wrong with you, and you can't even, you're worse than an animal. You can't even control what you're eating. You're a terrible, terrible person. And to be paralyzed with this to the extent where you're shut down for days, weeks, whatever it might be. This is what the Yetzer Hara wants. So it's keilu. It sounds like we're saying, if you do an aveira, don't be too upset. Stay with me, please. Right? So he says, people are stunned at such an idea, which is an integral part of true emunah. They ask, how can Hashem possibly want me to commit a sin? How could it be? If it happened, what we're saying is like this. If it happened, and I didn't do the best thing, right? And let's face it, everybody. We're not all tzaddikim. We're not all always doing the right thing, right? We're bursting out at people in anger. We're eating things we shouldn't. We're, whatever, not showing up to things we should be showing up to. We're looking at things we shouldn't look to. Everything that people do nowadays. We're not perfect. So it's happening, okay? Let's just get over that first of all. Let's get that out of the way. And so now we're going to say that something happens like that, and it has to be that it was Ratzon Hashem. Hashem wanted it to happen. That's what we're saying. How could it be? How could Hashem want me to do something, a sin, an aveira? How could it be? So, if we think about this in the proper way, and we don't get upset, see, we're thinking about it with emunah and tamimus. We're not letting our backs get up. We're not getting angry. We're just trying to understand in the right way. So, he says, there's many reasons, there's many answers as to why this might happen. First of all, it could be, there's just a couple of possibilities, but with every person, there's going to be a personal reason why things happen. Could be that, like we said, my ego is too strong. And I fancy myself to be a very righteous person. Or I'm headed that way. I'm leading myself into a way of ego, thinking, oh yeah, I'm a person. I give classes. I got a long beard. I have the awesomest tichel in town, and the longest skirts, and give the best classes, and all these things. I'm so holy. Oh, right. I wear white on Shabbos, and I'm so holy. I don't have a tichel or skirts, or I don't wear white on Shabbos. Some of the other ones might apply, right? So I think I'm so great. So sometimes I need to be knocked down from that, right? So Hashem says, you know what? You're going to be led down this path. You're going to be involved in something that doesn't look so good, and it's going to knock you down because you need to be knocked down. Your ego is going too high. The same reason that we explain sometimes that we have to always go through aliyahs and yeridas. Aliyahs and yeridas. Our lives are always up and down, right? Why? Reb Nosson said this very clearly. Because if we would always only be going up, same time as we go up, so too our ego would go up. Our ego would constantly go up, right? So maybe I'm too high. Maybe I'm looking down at other people, and Hashem wants to show me, right? You ever have this thing? You look at other people, and you always are able to find what's wrong with them, right? I think I told you before that before I had kids, right? I would look at people with their wild kids, and I'd say, oh, when I have kids, I'm not going to raise them like that, right? I would look down at people. They don't. How come they're not taking care? How come they're not, making their kids behave properly, right? This is what I used to think. And Baruch Hashem, as I get older, I realize that I have no clue about anything. But certainly, a person who doesn't have little kids doesn't know what it's like to have little kids and how to help them behave. And you don't get to choose what neshama comes into your family, and which ones are going to be easy, which ones are not going to be easy, which ones are going to be artistic or intellectual, which ones are going to have a lot of power, if you know what I mean, or will be more laid back. You don't get to choose. So maybe you're the person who's looking down on people like I was. Maybe you look down at people for other reasons, and Hashem says, "Whoa, mister, this is not good for you. You should not be seeing the negative in people. You should not be looking down on people. It's time for a knockdown." And so you get knocked down, right? So this is important. This is important. So when it happens, Rav Arush says next on page 152 that it's important that we take that and we bring it into Hisbodedus. We take this into our ability to now talk to Hashem. Okay, Hashem, this happened, and I hear from you that it was supposed to happen. So, do I just say that's it? Am I done? No, I have to say now. Hashem, why did you let this happen to me? Why was I not stopped from doing an Aveira? Why did you give me the desires to do such a thing? Why did you put me here? And if a person really goes with humility, being humble, and with a emisdik cook, with a authentic perspective, an authentic desire to understand and ask Hashem, why was I put in this situation? Why did I need to be there? Right? So we'll be able to understand that Hashem is guiding us. Hashem is putting us places. Right, like the person who's getting, who thinks they got everything figured out. This is one that happens a lot. I see this so often, and I cringe. When I hear people say, "Oh, now I figured it out. Now I know why this had to happen to me." Right? Now I know why I went down here, and as soon as I hear those words, I get very scared, because as soon as we think we know everything, we got it all figured out, that's a gaiva, that's an ego. And Hashem's going to say, whoa, not so fast, right? There's if you ever saw the movie Ushpizin, we've talked about it a few times, right? right before his biggest Yerida in that movie, right before he's about to have this whole meltdown and his wife leaves him, right before that, literally right before that, he figures out that the sukkah that he got was actually stolen. He didn't realize it, and so he's like, oh, now I understand why all these things were happening. It's because the sukkah was stolen and I didn't make sure that it wasn't stolen and I took it, whatever. Now I understand it. Oh, thank you, Hashem. Now I understand why everything happened up until this point. And it's right after that that the biggest implosion takes place and his interesting guests go crazy and his wife leaves him. And he has to run out into the forest and scream to Hashem with nothing left. And it's from that point that I don't know why I'm going through the story you're speaking, but fantastic movie. You got to watch it. If you haven't seen it, it's the most amazing Emunah movie, if maybe the only Emunah movie ever made. It's available. I think it's available on even on like normal things like Apple TV or whatever. Ushpizin, Ushpizin. It's amazing movie. But it's from that point that the real Yeshua comes, right? So it's with this in mind that we have to be careful with these things, and we have to go and talk to Hashem, and try to understand where we are, and try to understand the path that Hashem is putting on us. Maybe I think I got it all figured out too much. Maybe I'm looking down on other people too much, right? Maybe I'm getting too high just on myself too much. Maybe things are too easy for me right now. And I'm starting to be lax in my avodas Hashem, and Hashem needs to snap me out of it, right? Maybe I'm too lazy, whatever it is, right? We when we go into His bodedus and we're able to talk our own talk to Hashem, be ourselves, and talk about our own lives, we can begin to see how things line up, right? Because for one person it'll be ego. For one person, it'll be anger. For one person, it'll be intellect. For one person, it will be, what was the last one we said? For one person, it'll be whatever. All day. It'll be that they're taking things too easy. They're relaxing too much. They're not putting enough energy, and every person is different. So through his bodedus, Sandra's saying self-awareness. We can begin to see ourselves and how Hashem's leading us down a path. Okay, let's move on now to back to, because we started it last week, but we're going to get into it now a lot. Page 163. So the story goes. He says, "Don't think that simplicity comes easy without trials, tribulations, and all sorts of insults and humiliation. That's why the simple one's wife reacted to his joy in the following manner. Don't think that if we follow a life of tamimus, of simplicity, that it just means that everything's going to be easy and I'm going to be fine. I already know that when I tell people, yeah, I don't want to know what's going on in the world completely. They're gonna say bad things about me. Okay, whatever. I know it, but I have to accept it. It's okay. I'm confident with it. Right? So he says like this. Then she would ask him. So the shoemaker made his shoes, and they were not properly made. They were three-pointed, mal-shapen, not so great shoes. And he would praise this shoe. What kind of shoe did I make? It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful shoe. It's a dvash and zucker dicke shoe. It's so sweet and beautiful and amazing. Right? So his wife pipes up and says, then she would ask him, if so, why do all the other shoemakers charge 3 gold pieces for a pair of shoes, and you only take half a talon for your shoes, which is 1.5 gold pieces? So he answered to her, Ze ma'aseh shaloi, ze ma'aseh shali. What does it matter to me what other person is doing? That's his thing, this is my thing. That's his doing, this is my doing. Right? What does the other person have anything to do with me? Right? So he's bringing up something important here. Look right below that in page 163. The wife's question alludes to the humiliation and abuse that a person suffers, which often robs him of his simplicity and happiness. The people close to us, if they're not careful, can sometimes become the evil inclination's mouthpiece to weaken our resolve. In effect, the simple one's wife is asking him, what are you so happy about? All your friends are more successful than you. Right? So he's saying over here that it's so, so important, even when we're working hard to be people of simplicity and tamimus, that things are going to come out. People are going to say things. And it's going to be those people that are close to us. They're just going to know the right thing to say that's going to get right in there, under our skin. It's going to upset us. And they know how to do it. Right? And it's going to drive us crazy. This is what he says. This is what he says. So, it's interesting. So, before we get into our job, when someone is giving this to us, let's just put ourselves, because, the Tom's wife was a holy lady also, right? She's part of the equation over here. So what's going on here? What's she doing? So there's a fine line that we have to walk over here, especially in a husband and wife relationship, because the husband needs the wife to keep him on track, right? And he needs, it's the Rav Arush speaks about this, and the holy Sfarim speak about it. The Baal Shem Tov speaks about this, that really a wife is meant to be for a husband like a mirror. That the husband sees exactly what he's supposed to see about himself from his wife. It's not lost on me that I'm speaking right now to only women, and this is a really important point. It's important for a husband to know that because this happens. This is our main point of contention in life. The main point where we can get our emotions can get in the way, can get us up going here, is the husband and wife relationship. So it's important for a husband to know that everything that comes from his wife is really coming from Hashem, and it's meant as a message for him. It's like a mirror showing him exactly what's wrong with him. So I always tell the guys, and I don't know if you ladies know this or not, but I always tell the guys that we all know that there's one person in the world who, without saying a word, with one look, can reduce us to a pile of garbage. Can mamish take everything out of us and turn us into nothing. And that is our wives. Just with one look, they get right to our heart. And they take all the wind out of our sails and put us down. Right? And I mean this in a positive way. Right? Like, we need this person to be able to show us when we're not on the right path. And the wife has this tremendous power to be able to have an influence on her husband like no one else in the world can have. Right? No one else in the world. And the husband has to know what to do with it. Because what usually happens, of course, is both sides of the party are not at their best and are not really doing their job the way they're supposed to do it. So, one side says something and the other side gets their back up, gets defensive, and they start going back and forth, and it blows up into a huge argument. That's not the way it's supposed to go. Right? But if the husband can see something from his wife and can say, okay, this is from the Ribono Shel Olam. I know there's something wrong with me. What is it? Let me figure it out. Right? This is the way it's supposed to go. But we're seeing over here another important point, and that is that the wife is not off the hook in this story. Because she has to also know with that amazing wisdom that she has, there's a line where it's going to go from being something that he needs to hear, that's going to help him to grow, even if it knocks him down. But there's a place where it's going to go to a place where it knocks him down too far. And where like Rabbi Arush's words over here, if they're not careful, they can sometimes become the evil inclination's mouthpiece to weaken our resolve. Right? So this is not just husband and wife, but husband and wife is the place where it's really strong. But it can be with our parents, it can be with our children, it can be with our co-workers, right? Sometimes we mean to say something for a good reason, but it ends up just being the mouthpiece of the evil inclination. It ends up knocking that person down or creating creating battles or wars or hatred, right? So we have to be careful. Another reason why it's so important to have a powerful dose of hisbodedus on a regular basis. Before I go and decide that I've figured out what's wrong with that person, I'm going to tell them. Probably should never happen. But whatever I'm engaging with in all my relationships, if I have the ability to speak to the Ribono Shel Olam about it and to do hisbodedus, to contemplate, to think, to talk, right, to prepare myself to be miyashev my das, to settle my das, compose myself, and to be mechalkal devarav, to prepare my words properly, to use mishpat on myself, to judge myself, to make sure that I know the things that I'm saying are not coming from a place of ego or of hurt or of fear, right? Everything becomes a totally different story, right? Can you imagine when we go and speak to somebody and we're just a ball of emotions, right? And we just like everything starts coming out and we're firing on all cylinders, right? We're firing from all barrels, I guess, right? Right? It's not good. We're just react, fight, right? Defend. Whereas imagine if before we went to that conversation, we went by ourselves for half an hour and said, okay, why am I feeling argumentative? Why am I feeling defensive? Right? Or not even why, but I am recognizing it and understanding it and saying, okay, I know what might happen. Now I have to go calm. I have to go in calmly. And I have to have this discussion that's going to be only for the purpose of goodness and only for the purpose of building and not chas v'shalom for argument and tearing down. Everybody with me on this? It's serious business, right? Namish. So he says over here, be strong. Page 164. So the questions are legitimate that his wife is asking him. Nebuch, why are your shoes worth so much less than everyone else's? Right? But he has to be strong and make sure it doesn't take him into a place of despair, of misery, depression, and self-pity. Right? So he is strong. A person with emunah, with hisbodedus and emunah, is a person of calm confidence. And now he can stand up and say, no problem. I hear what you're saying. It doesn't get him angry. It doesn't get him defensive. It doesn't get him upset. He says, why should I care what that person has? That's his shoe shop. This is my shoe shop. Right? We're different people. We have different materials, different methods. I do my thing. He does his thing. I don't care what that person does. It's okay. Right? But he's doing it with confidence. He has to be strong. If we're going to be people of tamimus, and pshitus in this beautiful way, people of emunah, we have to be strong, and we have to remember, we have to know what we know, and all of these aspects of emunah, we learn them, we talk about them, we discuss them, we do hisbodedus about them, and we know them. So now we can have this conversation. So he says on page 165, the statement that says, that is his doing and this is mine, is the basis of emunah in divine providence, hashgacha pratis. Meaning what? We understand that every single person in the world is absolutely unique. We're completely different from every other person in the world. We have different makeup of character. We have different talents, different abilities, different challenges. We're in a different time, maybe. We're from a different age. We were born into different families. We're so different. No person in the world is the same as anyone else. The Arizal says very clearly that there's no person ever created that has the same tikkun as another person. The same spiritual rectification that they need to do in their lives, the same purpose in their lives as any other person. Every person is absolutely, completely unique. And so therefore, why would we ever look at somebody else and say, why can't I be like them? Or even worse, say to our spouse or our children, or why can't you be like them? It's a non-starter. A person with emunah knows that Hashem runs the world and takes care of every individual person, and everybody has a different tikkun, right? So For example, he brings over here in the book on page 166 that you have Avram Avinu, right? And Avram Avinu, he was absolutely amazing. Avram Avinu was literally the only person in the world who what's it called? Who was a monotheistic, who believed in one Hashem. The whole entire world was against him. He was called Avram HaIvri because HaIvri means from the other side. He's called Avram HaIvri because he was on one side and the whole entire world was on the other side. But he stood up strong as himself and he didn't care what other people were doing. He was authentic to himself and his and what he knew to be right. Right? He's also the Medrash says about him, Echad Haya Avram. Avraham was one. He was the only guy. We see also that we say when we daven in our Shemona Esrei 168 that we say Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Why are we saying the three forefathers? Well, why don't we just say the God of our fathers? Right? And one of the ideas is that they each served Hashem in their own path. Rav Arish's title over here is Your Own Melody. We have our own way of going through the world and our own contribution and our own uniqueness that the world needs that only we can give. So Avram brought Chesed into the world, right? He was the father of monotheism, and he was a person who dealt with Chesed, with kindness. Yitzchak was the person of Gevura, of awe, and he says sternness, right? So, but he grew up in his father's house. He could have just been exactly like his father. He could have followed exactly the things that his father did, but he didn't. He took what his father had and he carved his own path based on his own traits. Yaakov, he could have been like his father Yitzchak, but he didn't do that. He could have been like Avram. He didn't do that. He took both of those two things and used them to carve his own path also, right? We see another beautiful inyan that there were, when the sea split, right? The Kriyas Yamsuf, the Medrash says that there were 12 paths in the sea, not just one big path. Why? Because each tribe, each one of the Yud Beis Shiftei Ka, the 12 tribes of Hashem, had their own path. Why? Not because they had to be separate, but because this is what Hashem wants. That there should be, we're all on the same path, we're all going in the same place, but we have to shine our own light, let's say. There's 13 gates in the Beis HaMikdash. One for each tribe and one that was for people who didn't have a tribe. Right? Why? There's supposed to be 12, let's say 12 different nuschayos of tefillah. 12 versions of davening. Why? Because not everybody's the same. One person has to be a chassid. One person has to be a litvak. One person has to be a Sfardi. One person has to be a kibbutznik. Right? One person has to be a Karlbach hippie guy. Right? There's all these different types of people. One person has to be a nanach. Right? And they all have to express their own path. We all have to express our own path within the beautiful guidance of the Torah. Right? So that's what you can have. You can have a Sfardi with darker skin and with different pronunciation and all kinds of interesting traditions compared to the white Ashkenazi guy who has gefilte fish with a carrot on it. People like to make these jokes all the time. Yeah, exactly. Right? You have so many different. You have Ethiopian Jews. You have all kinds of different things, right? But all coming under the guidance of the wisdom of the Torah. So why am I saying this? First of all, this is like my bread and butter here. I love this concept of achdus, togetherness, of all kinds of different Jews coming together under the banner of Hashem, under the banner of Torah and Hashem. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Right? But so why am I so excited about it? And why am I talking so much about all these different kinds of Jews coming together? Because when you look and you see that there's all these different kinds of Jews, And we're just talking about the main categories. That you got the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim and the Litvish and the Chassidim and the Ethiopians and the Mizrachis and the Iraqis and all these different kinds of Jews. Yeah, those are only the main categories. In each one of those main categories, there's individuals who are different, radically different from one another. Why do we care? Why am I saying this right now? Why is it so important? Because when I know that, then I know that I don't have to look at anyone else and say, I need to be like them. Because I see that everyone is unique and different and important. And everyone has their own chelik and their own injection, their own contribution to make in the world. And Hashem made everybody completely unique. And everybody can do only one thing. Not only one thing. Everyone has, only one person can do their tikkun. No one else can do it for them. So why would I ever look to anyone else with jealousy? How could I ever look at someone else and say, why am I not like them? Why do I not have their money? Why do I not have their brains? Why do I not have their beautiful family, their children, their spouse, their car, whatever it is? How could I ever look at someone else like that? Because everyone has their own unique tikkun, their own unique hashgacha pratis in life, right? And so, are you with me, guys? Mm-hmm. This is important, awesome stuff. But there's another aspect to this, right? So I thought of a few things that we don't get jealous about other people for, right? First of all, so like we're not jealous about another person's prescriptions, right? We don't see someone going to the pharmacy to pick up their prescriptions and say, "Oh, that guy has those. How come I don't get those? I want those pills." Why don't we get jealous of that? Because we know it's not meant for us. We don't need it, right? Like I'm not going to take heart medication if I don't have a heart problem. God forbid, right? That I should have a heart problem. God forbid. We're not jealous of another person's fingerprints, right? Why? Because that's just their unique. That's the essence. That's like the physical, like representation of the uniqueness of a person. That's just I can't be their fingerprints. What are you talking about, right? So it's ridiculous. I remember hearing a long time ago from Pesach Kron. He gave over. This was like one of the first Jewish shiurim I ever heard in my life. It was beautiful. He was talking about this inyan of being jealous about other people, and he said that you see by the Aseret Adibros, the 10 Commandments. It says that thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's eshes re'ehu, your neighbor's wife, or your neighbor's animals, right? It lists a whole bunch of things, or your neighbor's house, and then after that it says v'chol asher l're'ehu, and everything that he has. So he asked the question. He said, "What do you mean? You just listed everything. You said his wife, his animals, his house, like." You listed specific things, and then you said, and everything that he has, what does that mean? Either don't say any specific things, or don't then say everything, right? Like, what's it trying to say? So he said, oh no, it's trying to teach us something very important. And that is that if you look at your neighbor, and you say, oh, he's got a beautiful wife. She's got a fantastic husband. They got beautiful children, amazing. Wow, they have so much money, they have all, right? It's that if you decide that you want that, then you have to take chol asher l're'ehu. You also got to take their whole package, and everybody has a package. Everybody has baggage. Everybody has pain. Everybody has difficulty, and we don't get to pick only the good things. When you're looking at somebody and seeing only that one good thing, right? That in a desirous, jealous way, right? So you're missing their whole hashgacha pratis. You're missing their whole tikkun. They have something that for them is the hardest thing in the world. It's the hardest thing in the world for them. And you don't even know about it. So we can't look at someone in this way. We can't look at someone in this way. So perhaps for me, and I think we'll kind of try to finish up here. There's a lot more, but we'll try to finish up with this idea. This is an important idea. So this is the thing that really hits home for me. I don't know if he says it over here. He doesn't really say it over here. But if we spend too much time trying to be someone else and wanting to be what other people have, right? And coming from this place of jealousy and always looking and comparing, we're going to miss out on being ourselves. I'm not going to be able to accomplish what I was put here for if I don't focus on my own tikkun and my own issues and my own inyanim. I can't do it, right? If I'm trying to be something else, right? Oy vavoy. So I thought of a few interesting things over here. So first of all, everybody knows the famous story about Thomas Edison, right? That he whatever. I know there's difference of opinions, but let's just say he invented the light bulb. I know they say he didn't really, but I think he was the first patent. I don't know. He had some shaykhs to the light bulb, all right? And as the legend goes, it took him 1,000 times to make the light bulb, right? And so someone asked him once, apparently, how does it feel to have failed 1,000 times? And his answer was something to the effect of, I don't view it that I failed 1,000 times. I view it that inventing the light bulb was a 1,000 step process, right? So usually we say this idea just for that idea, right? That a failure is not a failure. Failure is just a place to learn and to move forward. We've already talked about this. This is not why we're saying this today. I'm saying this today because Thomas Edison sat there for however long it took him. I think it was a long time, 1,000 attempts trying to make the light bulb. And how do you think he felt doing this? Maybe he saw other people that were making successful inventions. Maybe he saw other people I'm just making this up, I have no idea about Thomas Edison's life. But maybe he saw other people were getting married and having kids, or he saw other people were going into business and were making money, and maybe, I don't know what he was doing. But he didn't look at other people and try to be like them. He just kept going. He kept going and kept trying and kept trying. Happens to be, it might not be the best story because people say that he stole stuff from Nikola Tesla, but whatever. Maybe he was trying to be someone else. I don't know. But you get the point, right? If he didn't keep focusing on that and rather tried to be someone else, he wouldn't have done it. There's this great story, this great thing about there's a guy, I think his name is Sadio Mane. Anyway, he's a soccer player from an African country, Senegal, I think. And there's a famous picture of him. He's walking. He's like a famous soccer player. I'm not a sports guy. I don't know what the league is called. The worldwide soccer thing, the big one, right? And he's walking, and he's carrying a cell phone that has a cracked screen, right? So they're like, the people asked him, like, he makes something like $100,000 a week as a soccer player. And they're like, what are you doing with a cracked cell phone screen, right? And so he said, I don't need a new cell phone screen. He said, I don't need diamond watches. I don't need fancy cars. I don't need Lamborghinis and diamond watches. What am I going to contribute to the world with that? How's that going to help? Rather, what does he do? He takes his money and he builds schools, he builds hospitals in his former country, he gives a certain amount of money to all underprivileged families. He makes a huge difference in the world, right? So once again, we can look at this from a couple of ways. What if he, in his country, what if he just was like, oh, I see my buddy over there, he's really working in the fields and starting to make money, help his family, I should be like him. I don't know. What if he went to a different path just because he saw other people doing it, and he didn't become him, right? Where would he be? Where would he be? Where would all these people be? What the huge tikkun that he did in the world because he kept trying to be him. He kept trying to do his thing, right? And if that guy didn't make it, right, then all those people wouldn't have what they had. All that good that happened wouldn't be there. But he kept going and doing something not like everyone else around him. He did something totally amazing and crazy, right? What an amazing story. And so this is like us. If we're too busy looking at other people and saying, "Oh, I need to be like that," but that person is, is even in Ruchnius, that person is studying this stuff. Oh, but I'm not studying that. Maybe I have to study that. But that person's studying this. Maybe I have to study that. And I have to, right? That person is doing this organization and that organization, but I'm not doing it. Okay, relax. We have to do our own thing. We have to find our own impact. We have to know ourselves and put our efforts into the place where we know we can do the most and do the best by knowing who we are and not worrying about other people, not trying to be someone else, but trying to be who we really are. I have a great personal story about this, but I may. Okay, I'll quickly. We'll finish with this. We'll be done. So, when I first started becoming religious and getting into Judaism, so my whole life I was a person who was very connective, spiritual kind of person. But when I first started becoming religious, I got very into. I started going to yeshiva, and I started, just trying to be like certain people. Trying to be like just the people who were very black and white and very kind of not into emotion or feeling, certainly not Hasidus, not these types of things. And I went down this path for a long time, and I became kind of judgmental and kind of like very meticulous and kind of din-oriented. And it was kind of like, it was not me. It was very strange. And it was only later in life that I was able to sort of feel okay with myself and be able to get back to myself and to open myself up back to being a person of more emotion and more connection and more spirituality, and to find the Torah of Rabbi Nachman and Chassidus and Ruchnius and all these things. But it's ki'ilu, because I was trying to be something else, I didn't have that the whole time. Like maybe a good 10 years. I was away from that, and I was in a different mind space because I was trying to be like other people. You hear? I was trying to be like others. So, in the end, what do I have to say? From everything we learned, I look back on there and I say, of course, that was what Hashem wanted. I needed to do that. I needed that, right? And that was important because it's after the fact. It was Ratzon Hashem. I have to look back and say that. But at this point, I'm looking from a different perspective, and I'm trying to make sure that I honor myself under the umbrella and the pathway of Torah and mitzvahs, and in that, in Mitzvah Hashem, we can be successful. Okay, we didn't get through nearly what I wanted to get through today, but we're out of time, and Ma'ariv is starting now. We got to run, so we'll save the questions and comments for next week, if you guys don't mind. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic week. All the best. Bye.